If I've never met you before, my name is Mike. It's an honor to welcome all of you here in Compass and all of you watching our overflow up in True North. This is our fourth service of the week of Christmas Eve, and they've all been overflow. And so we're so glad that you guys took time out of your schedule to be with us. I love the story. Now, somebody asked me last week, they're like, oh, I know you're dreading. It's going to be a long 2 days. I said, man, we are so excited because of the story. It's a crazy story. See, all throughout the New Testament, we get it. But if you go back to the Old Testament, things were a little bit different. They knew that God was with them, but it was a different God was with them. In fact, Joshua, we remember that God told Joshua when he was going to replace Moses, Joshua, be strong and very courageous. Do not fear. Do not be dismayed. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you're going to go. So there was this perception, and it was true, created that God was with man. But it was God there, man here. That was the deal. He told Isaiah as well, he said, fear not, I am with you. You will not be dismayed. Isaiah, I got you. I know it's going to look like I'm not with you, but I'm there. I'm here, you're there, but Isaiah, I'm with you. I got you. I'm good. We know he tells Jeremiah that he's going to fight in his midst. He's going to be fighting for Jeremiah. The same thing. God's there, we're here, and I'm going to be fighting. And then in the book of Zephaniah, some of y'all are going, didn't know there was a book named Zephaniah, all right? And so he told Zephaniah as well that I am close, I am here, but here's the deal. God there, man here. That was the deal. And then for 400 years, there was silence. Not 4 years, not 40 minutes, 400 years of silence between the Old Testament and the New Testament. There was a knowledge that God was there, but there was nothing new. There was no prophet, there was no word, there was no nothing. They knew that one day there would be a Messiah, but that Messiah hadn't come, and they weren't hearing anything now for a long while. God was there, but he was here, man was here, man's problems are here, God is there, he's got us, I understand that, but he isn't here. And God flipped the script. God came to a young man named Joseph and a young lady named Mary, and he changed everything. We know that Mary was a virgin. We know that she was betrothed to Joseph, meaning they were, what we would say today, they were engaged, but this engagement can last up to a year. It's a little different than it is today. In fact, I walk around before the service. I love seeing people, and I ran into some couples that I had the opportunity and honor of doing your wedding. So I love that period, but it was a little different back then. Nowadays, guy meets girl, girl meets guy, they fall in love with each other. Back then, the way it worked was mom and daddy knew mom and daddy, and they set their kids up. Nightmare. All right, and so there's no telling where I'd be right now. And so, but that's the way that it worked right then. You say, I don't have anything in life to be thankful for. Be thankful your parents are not betrothing you to somebody you don't like. All right, so here's Mary and Joseph in the story, betrothed to each other, and an angel comes. And this angel delivers news, and the angel says this to Joseph, says this to Mary, and he's quoting an Old Testament prophecy. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, Matthew 1:23. But that Emmanuel has an interesting meaning to it. It means this: God with us. Remember, that's been said all throughout the Old Testament, but it was God there, man here. The night that Jesus came, everything changed. It's not God there, man here anymore. Emmanuel literally means God is now with us. Y'all say it with me. Let's see if we can get this down. Ready? God with us. Emmanuel means this. Let's say it again. God with us. Huge deal. God's no more going to watch your life from a distance, and you're going to know him, and it's going to be personal, but yet a little impersonal. That night, 2,000 years ago, God put skin on and he came to earth with one intention. He came to earth to find you, and he came to earth to find me. God with us, Emmanuel. See, God knew that during this life there was going to be times that we were going to feel alone. There's going to be times that we are going to feel like we're in the 400 silent years, like God has taken a day off, and maybe God took a year off, and God's not present anymore, and we don't like the feeling of being alone. I remember as a teenager, I was probably 13, 14 years old. My mom and dad were both working. All my friends were out of town, and I watched a movie, a scary movie one afternoon on one of the 5 channels that we got back then. But anyways, I watched a scary movie, and I remember vividly in Fayetteville, Georgia, setting a lawn chair out in the middle of my driveway till my mom got home, because Jason, I knew, was in my house. All right, and so I was sitting in the middle of my driveway, scared to death, because I don't like being alone. God knew that. And that night, 2,000 years ago, everything changed. You'll never be alone again, ever. Ever. You may feel it, you may think it, but you're not. Because when God became man, he changed everything. You were never alone. See, when we're alone, we feel like we've lost hope. We get discouraged easier. But we know that somebody's with us. We can fight a little longer. We stick in there a little bit longer. I don't know if you've ever lived one of those years, but you just wish you could rip it out of the calendar and you just go, I hope that year never comes again. That year for me was 2017. That was the year. If you're new to NorthStar, if you're around NorthStar, you know the story, but back that year in February, I lost my dad suddenly, unexpectedly, and in May, I lost my mom. It's crazy. So we're going through funerals, and we're planning services, and we're talking about estates. And listen, at that point, I'm 47, which ain't no spring chicken, all right? And so I'm 47. My sister's 9 years older. My brother's 11 years older. We were standing in Fayetteville at my parents' house on the day of my mom's service, and my sister looked at us, and she said these words. She said, "Holy cow, we're orphans. We don't have a mom or dad here anymore." I didn't know what to say. And I was overwhelmed with this feeling. And I'm a grown guy. I mean, I hadn't depended on my parents in years. But they were there. They were one phone call away. My mom was going to save the day when I was 14 if Jason was in the house. I don't know what she would have done, but I mean, they're there, right? They're present. And I learned a valuable lesson that day. There's no one on this earth that can stay with you forever. Here. They'll always let go. Now, I'll get to be with them in heaven, yes. But no one here. Listen to me. This baby grew up and he became a man. You know what the last words he uttered on this earth? They were the same words that were uttered by the angel. Listen to the words. Listen to the words. Jesus said, "I am with you always, always. Always. I'm with you always." You think you're forgotten? Look at me. You're never forgotten. You may forget him. He never forgets you. You may not think about him a whole lot. He never stops thinking about you. I am with you always. That's the story of Christmas. Here and there, if you know him. I don't know how you walked in this Christmas, but I hope you'll walk out going, there's a God who moved a lot of stones to be near me. Did he have to? No. He wanted to. And he wanted to because he wanted you to know he was here. And he wanted you to know that he is near. He's got you. That's the story of Christmas. Would you pray with me? Father, may we never get over that story. God, I pray I don't ever get to a point in my life where I go, oh, yeah, I know that. Oh, it's just Christmas. Just Christmas. Just God with us. To pay a debt he didn't owe. To die for a sin he didn't commit. To conquer death so I didn't have to experience death. Oh, I pray it's never just Christmas. God, in some of our hearts, even today, we came, it's Christmas Eve. We always come on Christmas Eve. But God, for some of us, you begin to spark something inside of us that says, I know there's more. God, after 400 years of silence, your presence delivered hope that man much needed. God, your presence here today delivers a hope we need too. God, the story of Christmas is universal, yeah, but the story of Christmas is super personal too. God, may today we see you face to face. It's in Jesus' name that I pray.